go whenever. So
All right, thank you very much. So good afternoon. My name is Dee Dee Stakely, and I'm a member of the Hatched Planning Team. I will be monitoring our time today as well as monitoring the chat and sharing questions that are posted in the chat as well. Just so that you know, this session will be recorded for future use. I'm pleased to introduce Jenny Lamberts, who is going to present today on explainer videos for remote instruction. So Jenny, it's all you and welcome.
yes, thank you, Dee Dee, for introducing me here. I just want to preface at some point in this presentation, I'll have a couple of videos that I wanted to play as examples. And so I think I set up all the settings correctly, but certainly someone stop me or throw a message in the chat if you can't hear when those videos are playing. So today I want to talk a little bit about my experience of switching some of my instruction to be more of an explainer type video for remote instruction during the pandemic. So I really got into this last spring term and over the summer. It actually just so happened that I had completed all of my teaching for the semester before spring break last year. So I suppose that was somewhat fortuitous that I didn't have to immediately shift things to an online environment. And I had the summer to kind of plan and figure out how I was going to approach instruction in the fall term when I do have quite a bit of, or the majority, let's say, of my teaching assignments. And so what I'm going to talk today about was my experience using two different products. And as a disclaimer and a disclosure, I don't have any financial interest in either of the specific products that I'm going to be talking about. I just happen to really like them and wanted to share that information with all of you. So the two products that I will talk about that I've gotten some experience using when I, again, sort of had that time to shift from the in-person environment to the remote environment are Loom and Explain Everything. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about each of these in turn, some of the uses that I see for them, as well as any sort of associated costs or kind of caveats to a certain extent. I'll also show some examples of content that I've created with each of these products. And then at the end, I have some overall tips and tricks for utilizing one or the other. And I have to say that this, my interest in this and what kind of started me off down this pathway was the fact that for a long time in my teaching, I've always linked and shared videos to students through YouTube that are true like explainer videos, very professionally done. And I will not claim to say that any of mine are professionally done. But when it comes to teaching pharmacology or drug action, which is my primary teaching area, most of that is mechanistic. Pathophysiology as well is another area where I teach quite a bit. And with mechanisms, there's a very clear, typically, delineation between steps. First this happens, then this happens. A lot of looking at drawings and images and wanting to be able to annotate over those to give the students a really good experience when I don't have a pointer or an ability to do that in an in-person environment, or if I were to record a lecture over Zoom, for example. I know there is some annotation in Zoom, but I really wanted to find something that I thought was a little bit even more, let's say, bare bones, kind of going back to the whiteboard idea of, starting with nothing and building from there. So these two products I found to be really useful in a lot of my teaching. And like I said, I'll go into the uses for each of those here. So I'll start with Loom. Loom is both a web-based, can be downloaded as an app or a program on a computer, or can be used on any iOS, so both phone and iPad device. And I found that, really their claim to fame, let's say, is that they are a screen and video recording software. So I found this to be really useful for recording like tutorials, for example, or how-to videos through that video and screen recording functionality. So for example, we use a remote and electronic testing product or platform called ExamSoft. And a lot of times what I found working with both students and faculty on the use of the program is that I'm frequently reteaching the same how-tos all the time. And so one thing I found when in a remote environment, and it's a little bit more difficult to do this because you're not sitting right next to the person, the easiest way to do this is to record a how-to video, and then you can always reference that going forward, and you don't have to reteach it multiple times to multiple people. I also see this as being really useful for recording like an introductory video for a Canvas course, for example, or if you have or need to give instructions for students for how to complete an assignment in Canvas, especially if it's an assignment that requires going to an external location or performing some action to complete, it would be a really nice way to basically demonstrate for them what you're expecting them to do. I'll be perfectly frank here when I say that I know that there's some other products we have available, like Canvas Studio, for example, that I've used and just found not to be as user-friendly or as useful as something like Loom. Loom does have a free account. There are some limitations on that in terms of the length of videos you can record and the number of videos you can record. So I believe the free account, the maximum length is 5 minutes, which is actually kind of a perfect length of time for tutorial videos. I wouldn't recommend going much longer than 5 minutes anyway. And then in terms of number of videos, I believe there's a cap on the number that you can store when you have the free account. Otherwise, there is a paid version that gives you unlimited recording and unlimited number of videos that cost around $10 per month. So it's pretty nominal. It's not terrible if this is something that you were using frequently. As I mentioned, it is available as a web-based platform with cloud access, so you can do sharing. If you were creating a video that you wanted others to be able to edit or modify, you can share it through their web-based platform. I also have it as a computer app on my laptop, as well as an app on my cell phone. I also see this being really useful. So from a student learning perspective, when you have an account in Loom, you can create unlimited sub-accounts. So you could, for example, upload your class list, create accounts for all of your students, and have them do like a video journal, for example, which would be, again, perfect, keeping those under 5 minutes. You don't really want to give people much longer than that. But then students can all see each other's videos in the team. And so they could view other students, comment on them, like them. There's emoji that you can add to videos. And so it would be a really cool way to kind of do a collaborative video journal type of assignment with students. So real quickly, to give an example of what a video looks like, I believe this is a 2-minute video I recorded for students on one of the ExamSoft steps they need to perform. So I'll play this for you just as an example. This video will demonstrate how to set up your ExamSoft account and pay for your annual ExamSoft license. Once your account is created in ExamSoft starting on August 1st, you should receive an email with your ExamSoft login credentials sent to your Ferris email address. So the first step is to log on to your Ferris email and search for the ExamSoft account creation email. For this example video, I've used my Gmail address, so I'm going to go ahead and log into my Gmail and look for the email labeled ExamSoft account creation, keeping in mind that you may need to check your spam folder for this email. Once I open the email, I will see a few pieces of information that are important for logging into ExamSoft. One is the institution ID, which for us is Ferris Farm, and then my specific student ID, as well as my current password. I can change this password later to something else that is more secure and that I will remember. Step 1 in setting up your account and paying for your license is to log in to our Ferris Farm ExamSoft portal with my student ID and password provided. So I'm going to click this link in the email to navigate to the portal. And in the exam taker area to the left, I'm going to log on with my ID and password that were provided in my account creation email. This window provides some important information about the paying for the Exemplify license, so make sure you take some time to read it. Specifically, I'm going to go ahead and stop that for the sake of time here so I can continue on, but I think you get the idea where you have both the screen recording as well as my face in there, so it's just nice that someone can see me talking while I'm narrating what I'm doing. And just to give you an idea, this was a 2-minute how-to video. I think I had to record 3 takes of it, so it took me less than 10 minutes. And then I was able to do some editing of the video because there was a section in here that I messed up and I just cut out after the fact. So there is some video editing that can occur. In the paid version of Loom, you can add annotation to videos and milestone markers of things like quiz questions after the fact. I did not do this in the paid version, so I was not able to add some of those things, but that might be something I look into down the road. So to move into talking about Explain Everything. Explain Everything is the platform that I use to do all of my lecture recordings at this point. So this is what allows me to create explainer videos because this is a product that allows the creation of narrated videos with annotation. And there's tons of annotation tools in terms of colors, shapes, adding links, adding videos, adding documents. It also can be used as a digital whiteboard. So I'll mention a couple potential uses for that. There is a free version, again, which has some limitations in terms of number of videos and length of video. Otherwise, the paid version, because they do have an educator license, so as long as you sign up with your educational email, it's $25 for 1 year, which I thought was pretty reasonable. One limitation of this is that it must be used on an iPad device, so you do need an iPad for this to work. There is a web-based interface and a cloud server that you can use for the digital whiteboarding aspect, but it does not have all the features of the iPad app, which is what I use. So functionally, what I do is I create a very basic PowerPoint that includes maybe just pictures or in some cases blank slides. I upload those slides into the Explain Everything app, and then I annotate over those slides, both with voice and with drawing. The digital whiteboard feature, I think, would be really useful for a student assignment perspective. Again, this is a product where you could add student accounts by uploading your class list and create, you can do a live digital whiteboard, so you could actually use it during class when multiple people would be contributing or drawing. You could create an assignment where students would have to put together like a digital project board that would be part of your team, and others could then view and comment on those whiteboards. So again, I think this does have use both in terms of creating lecture or teaching videos as well as for student assignments. So to give you an example here, I'll actually skip a little bit ahead in this video to a point where you can see some of my annotation and narration in one of these Explain Everything videos.
In order to understand hyperuricemia, we first need to review the normal biochemistry of uric acid. Uric acid is the normal metabolite of purine nucleotides like adenosine and guanosine. Adenosine and guanosine are converted through a series of enzymatic steps to uric acid. One of the enzymes that is very closely involved in the metabolism of purines is xanthine oxidase. This is important to note because xanthine oxidase is one of the targets for some gout treatments. Uric acid is excreted in humans by the urinary route. As long as uric acid levels do not get too high, this process typically is not problematic. However, uric acid at normal body pHs can be ionized to urate ion, and this charged molecule can then form salts with sodium. One such salt is monosodium urate, or MSU. Therefore, it is important that uric acid levels are maintained within a normal range. Hyperuricemia occurs when uric
So again, just kind of giving you an idea of what this can do, and to describe a little bit of the specifics. So typically what I've done is upload those, relatively blank slides or slides with images, like I mentioned, and annotate over them with words and drawings. Normally I do this in 2 takes. So the first take, I just record the audio of me talking. And then in the second take, I mute my audio so it doesn't record any background noise, and add the annotation. So the nice thing about Explain Everything is that it has that layered approach where you can record essentially as many times as you want. It's almost like you can make yourself have 6 hands, because you can just record take on top of take on top of take and be able to annotate and draw as much as you like. So to pull up some tips and tricks for these in general, I would say, when thinking about the potential for using either of these products, if you are interested in creating quick videos, whether that's, a video on your phone that you record or a screen recorded video, or you want to do some kind of student contribution type assignment, then I would steer you toward Loom as being the best product to accomplish that. If you are looking to record YouTube quality explainer videos for remote instruction, I'll steer you toward Explain Everything. And as I said, I don't pretend that any of my videos are very YouTube quality. If I spent more time on them, perhaps I would be taking a little bit more experience and actually doing some significant drawing and try to make them a little better. So maybe that will be for next year. The best kind of tips I can convey to make this work effectively, no matter which one you're using, planning ahead is really important. And that's probably where I spent most of my time, is the planning step. With either, if you're recording a tutorial video, make sure you have written steps. Or if you're recording an explainer video, make sure you have a script written down. It makes it a lot easier when it comes time to record, because I can do it in far fewer takes. One thing I learned pretty quickly, but was kind of hard for me to find in terms of, webinars or instruction on how to use these products, is that depending on your approach, there is a good order to do things in, especially when it comes to the explainer videos, for instance. So if you're doing lots of drawing, like if you were going to be drawing a cell or some sort of pathway from scratch, the best recommendation is to actually draw first with no sound and then voice over your drawing so that you can match the voice up with the drawing. If your explainer video is going to be mostly speaking, with you just highlighting things or drawing arrows or writing brief bits of text, then the recommendation is to speak first, record your voice first, and then draw over on top of that without sound. One thing that I would offer, because this was sort of a surprise to me, but maybe not that surprising in the end, that up front, I would estimate that you would invest at least twice the amount of time that it would normally take you to prepare a lecture. So, if you normally put in, say 3 to 5 hours to prepare a 1-hour lecture, I would expect anywhere from 6 to 10 hours putting together one of these videos. But then, of course, you save the hour, or that doesn't count the hour of one hour of being physically in the classroom to deliver that lecture. And then you have the recording in perpetuity, which is also nice. So I think that brings us to some time for questions. So I'm happy to take any questions you all have, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for a great presentation and some helpful information for all of us as we go forward and work in this remote format.
Thanks, Dee Dee. Yeah, one thing that I've been thinking about moving forward is that I actually think I will keep the explainer video approach, because what ended up happening is, say what typically took me an hour to present in the classroom, I ended up creating an explainer video of about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, let's say, for every hour. So I think going forward, no matter what happens, what I will end up doing is having this sort of like explainer video pre-work And then when the students do come in the classroom, actually do some activities or, extends the learning, which is very much a flipped classroom approach. And I certainly know that people have been doing that for a long time. It's new to me, but I also really like the ability to, record my own explainer videos and then kind of move into the classroom with some extended learning. So I do plan to continue using these.
That's great. You have a question in the chat that
Yeah.
is, what is the best way to update videos to include new information?
That is an awesome question, Lori. So that is another thing that I really liked about Explain Everything, is that it's very, I'm trying to think of the right way to explain it. It's very modifiable without having to re-record the entire video. So realistically, when I'm recording, it's a lot like PowerPoint because I have each of those images on sort of its own slide. So when I go through, I'm really recording slide by slide. So it's in like, 1 to 4 minute snippets, let's say, however long I would normally spend on a PowerPoint slide. So what I could do, depending on new information, I could replace just one of those PowerPoint slide snippets, and then I'm only re-recording like a 5-minute bit. If I want to add something to the end of what I've stated, I can add. If I want to overwrite either my drawing or my voice, I can do one or the other or both. If I want to insert, I can do that also. So there are essentially endless video editing options, and I think I won't really have to spend a ton of time re-recording now that I've done it once.
Thank you
Hi,
for that
Julie.
explanation.
Yeah.
This is Felix. So some of us have become very used to Canvas Studio. Now, what you were showing was quite interesting. I would like to try it, but what is the plus or minus when you compare these two programs to Canvas Video?
So from my personal opinion, based on what I said earlier, I guess the only minus to using these products is that you have to invest a little bit of time up front to understand how they work. But to me, that's time well spent because they are way better.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's really easy. So in the end, if you're thinking about uploading a video, at the end of recording these, there's essentially endless things you could do. You could embed the link into Canvas, which would link directly to your Loom site or your Explain Everything site. You can download the video as an MP4 and upload it into Canvas Studio. You can send the video to YouTube and embed the YouTube video into Canvas. So there's essentially an endless number of things that you can do. And I found that sending to YouTube actually was a really good way to go because YouTube offers essentially free captioning. So once you've put a video in YouTube, it will be captioned automatically. And so that way, it's not perfect. You might have to edit the captioning a little bit. But if I put it into YouTube and then embed the YouTube video in the Canvas course, it now links out to YouTube with a captioned video that exists forever.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we have about 5 minutes left. So if we have any other questions.
Yeah, I have another presentation right after this in a different room.
Wonderful.
Danny, I have a quick question. This is Renee. So the students have seen probably videos like Zoom videos, Canvas videos, your videos. Is there any kind of feedback on what they might like best?
So, I guess I can say for me personally, I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from the students about my videos. I could certainly share that with you to find more specifics, but students have really seemed to like them. They like the length, that most of them are 15 to 20 minutes. So if I ever have more than several hours of lecture, I break the videos up into like 15 to 20 minute chunks. I know they like that. The main thing they maybe dislike is that it requires them to work really hard taking notes while they watch the videos. But I'm not super upset about that because I feel like it makes them learn better. And, it's more of I'm helping them understand what they need, even though it's not what they want. Because I even had a student leave a comment at one point that says, like, I wish there was more text, but I understand why Dr. Lamberts doesn't do that because it forces me to take really good notes and I feel like I learn better.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jenny, very much for being with us today and for sharing your expertise in this area. And I know you've got to get over to your next presentation.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.